Technology is advancing so fast nowadays that it's important to look back and remember how far we've come. From your smartphone to the TV in your living room, let's take a look at some past and present technology, then and now. Data storage. We couldn't always rely on the digital realm to store everything from photos to messages. Data storage originated in the textile industry during the 18th century, when punch cards were used to record series of instructions for mechanical equipment like jacquard looms. These paper cards were later used to input data by hand punching holes and feeding them into a card reader. And in 1956, IBM also debuted the world's first hard disk drive, the IBM Model 350, which weighed over a ton, contained 50 24-inch storage disks worth a grand total of 3.75 megabytes, and was leased to companies from $3,200 per month. A decade later, this hulking machine was superseded by a new age of data storage, the floppy disk. These thin, flexible disks arrived in 1971 in 8-inch form. The original 8-inch floppy disk had a storage capacity of about 80 kilobytes, meaning you'd now need about 50 disks to store one 4-minute song worth an average of 4 megabytes. But by 1999 saw the arrival of the impressive and super compact SD memory card from SanDisk, Matsushita, and Toshiba. And in 2000, people were first introduced to the familiar USB thumb drive, initially capable of 8 megabytes of storage. Nowadays, USBs can support hundreds of gigabytes of data, and there's even a micro USB smaller than your finger and the thickness of a needle that can hold a whole terabyte. Most people now rely on the digital capacities of the cloud, first introduced in 2007, which currently holds an estimated 1 exabyte of data, the equivalent of over 1 billion gigabytes. Mobile phones. In the modern world, smartphones are treated as a necessity, but the history of the mobile phone is a surprisingly short one. In April 1973, Motorola researcher Martin Cooper made the first cellular telephone call to announce that Motorola had won the mobile technology race. His device had a single-line text-only display, was 23 centimeters long, and only had a talk time of 30 minutes while taking some 10 hours to recharge. On September 21, 1983, the first commercial mobile, the Motorola Dynatac 8000X, became available. The device cost an eye-watering $4,000 and had a measly 20-minute call time. And the first to take advantage of the transition to digital consumer handsets was the Nokia 1011, which hit stores in 1992. This world-first mass-produced mobile phone could hold 99 phone numbers and was the forefather of the iconic Nokia 3310 model, which had SMS capabilities and helped the company dominate the market after its debut in 2000. It wasn't until 2007 that Steve Jobs and his collaborators transformed the industry again with the first-generation iPhone. Nowadays, there are over 150 mobile phone manufacturers in the world. Calculators. If you need to solve something today, you probably wouldn't think twice about taking out your smartphone. But once upon a time, it took great amounts of machine processing to perform the most basic calculations. Back in 1820, a mechanical machine now hailed as the first incarnation of the modern calculator, the arithmometer, was patented by Thomas de Colmar and later manufactured between 1851 and 1915. To use this desktop-sized device, you'd simply select the desired mathematical function on the reversing lever, set your numbers using cursors with scales 0 to 9, and then use the crank, which would display the results in the totalizer windows at the top. The Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, ENIAC, was the world's first general calculating computer, which was built in 1946 at a cost of $487,000 by Pennsylvania University students. This machine could solve a larger class of numerical problems and was about 1,000 times faster than the electromechanical computers. But there were a few drawbacks. ENIAC required over 17,000 vacuum tubes, 70,000 resistors, and 10,000 capacitors, and weighed about 30 tons, filling an entire 30 by 50 foot room and consuming an insane 150 to 200 kilowatts of energy. It wasn't until 1967 that the first portable calculator, known as the Caltech, was produced by Texas Instruments. By 1980, pocket calculators had reached the forms we still recognize today, with battery power and using single chips and LCD displays. Nowadays, even the most scientific calculators can be replicated using software, and smartphones come with built-in calculating capabilities. TVs. Television as a concept had been discussed as early as 1900. But it wasn't until 1924 that the first real steps were made. Scottish engineer John Logie Baird developed a way of passing a beam of light through a rapidly spinning disc punched with holes, so that a simple image could be scanned, transmitted, and reconverted. The first mechanical TV sets of the 1920s, such as the Baird models B and C, initially resembled large cabinets with a tiny display. The earliest adaptations of Baird's prototype were mechanical rather than the digital technology we're used to now, and relied on scanning vertical lines, achieving just 30 lines per frame. From the 1930s, Marconi EMI's far superior electronic television sets appeared, and these were fitted with cathode ray tubes which could produce 405 scan lines and could now be measured using digital pixels. TVs like this 1948 Admiral model 19A12, costing $165.95, now had about 503 by 77 pixels in each frame and could produce 25 frames per second. After the advent of color TV in the 1960s, the next big development was the replacement of cathode ray technology with LCD display, which made TVs thinner by using liquid crystals instead of projecting images by splitting audio and visual signals into red, green, and blue lights. Pixel density, measured in megapixels per frame, which is 1 million pixels, is the best way to really see how far TV quality has come. With its 503 by 377 display, the earliest electronic TV had about 189,631 pixels per frame. For some perspective, standard 1080p HD TVs have a 1920 by 1080p display containing 2,073,600 pixels per frame. That's almost 11 times more pixel density than the 1930s model. Even more modern 4K OLED UHD TVs start at 3840 by 2160p, which is almost 44 times more than its ancestor. Who knows how we might watch our favorite shows in the future? But this LG rollable TV, set for a 2020 release, is certainly a good indication. Thanks for watching.